If you watched my previous video, you know that I was in Bali for 2 months. Now I'm back to the Netherlands. Mixed feelings, but I downloaded a lot of groundbreaking discoveries from Bali. One of them is the importance of a relationship with self. This topic unjustly doesn't get a lot of attention because people typically want money, career, a great love relationship, friendships, but a relationship with self? Like, what is that? They miss the link that the relationship with self is the foundation. It's actually what makes it all happen. Our external world is merely an extension of what's within. Let's say you've made a small mistake at work, and if you're being mean to yourself, this small mistake is going to manifest in a number of mistakes, and before you know it, you're going to be constantly failing at your job, or you're going to be having a perception like you're failing at your job because of this nasty inner voice that you have. Or how do you approach love life? Do you believe that you're lovable, or do you deep down doubt that you could ever find love? Or even if you are in a relationship, there is a part of you that thinks that this person will leave you soon. This is all to say that a relationship with self is super important because it's a foundation for all the other areas and all the other relationships of our life, be it a relationship with work, with our parents, with our partner, whatever it is. The foundation of all of it is our relationship with self. It's also the longest relationship that we will ever have, so it's definitely worth investing in it. To me, a healthy relationship with self is the one where I feel at peace with myself, and here are a couple of situations that come to mind. For example, if I'm watching a movie or a sunset and I have this overwhelming feeling, this kind of like nagging feeling that I want someone next to me right now. And this feeling doesn't come from a place of love or wanting connection. It comes from a place of scarcity. We all know this place, right? We are all very familiar with this place because we all experienced it at some stage of our life, or are experiencing it right now. I had it a few years ago when I traveled to Bali by myself. I was sitting in this amazing beach, there was live music playing, but I couldn't fully enjoy it. I did not have this feeling of like, blissful smile on my face because it was so beautiful and serene. That was not my case. I was feeling unease and I couldn't fully relax into this moment because I had this thought of like, I really want someone by my side right now. I really want to share this moment with someone. And example number 2 is how you go through a difficult situation in life. Let's take a recent example of my client. They've applied to the university and they got rejected. A healthy relationship with self here would manifest as an inner voice supporting you, telling you that, of course it sucks, I get it, but you've done your best and you will get accepted at some point, you will achieve whatever you want to achieve, but yeah, now it sucks. And an example of an unhealthy relationship with self here would be the inner voice berating you and picking you apart, telling you that, what did you think, that you would finally succeed? What kind of voice do you usually hear in your head? And example number 3 is when you clearly made a mistake. So let's say you filled in your visa application wrong. Again, here it would be how you're talking to yourself in this situation. Are you supporting yourself and acknowledging that yes, you've made a mistake, yes, you should have been more attentive, but what can you learn from it and try not to repeat it next time? Or is this inner voice again telling you how stupid you are for making a mistake, that you're constantly making mistakes, basically saying all the things that would make you feel even worse about yourself? Now, it's crazy to think and to expect from yourself that you will always in your life have a healthy relationship with self. We all go through different phases in life, and in some phases I, for example, can be a stronger partner for myself, and in some moments I don't have that in me because the situation is above my capacity, and that's okay as well. At the same time, if you could recognize yourself in all or the majority of the examples of a negative or / unhealthy relationship with self that I've listed, nothing is wrong with you. Just take a deep breath in and out. All is fine, but it's a sign to look deeper and to understand why it's the case and how you can improve that. And that's something we're going to talk later in the video. I keep getting distracted at home because there is so much to do. So I'm gonna go for a walk, refocus, and continue talking to you about what are the signs, like how do you know if you have a healthy relationship with yourself or not. It's also very sunny, and in the Netherlands we say when the sun is up, you need to go and enjoy it because you know that it's not gonna last. The first sign that you might have an unhealthy relationship with yourself is that, where is my mic? Yes, here. When you are staying in a dynamic that is abusive and that is not good for you. It might be an abusive partner, a narcissistic partner, a roller coaster relationship, be it friendships or a love relationship. So anything where you feel a bit inhibited, where you feel like your needs are not met, your needs are not heard, and then you keep talking to yourself consciously or subconsciously that you're not good enough and you just believe that you don't deserve anything else than that. The second sign is when you notice that you're tolerating high degrees of pain. I'll give you a simple example, but a very clear example. I work in Rotterdam, and my commuting Eindhoven to Rotterdam takes around 2 hours, door to door. And when there are NS disruptions, it might take me 30 minutes, 40 minutes longer. 30 minutes doesn't seem like a lot, but when you add it up, it's like plus 1 hour a day. And when the weather is like this, it's of course nice to, walk around and well, it's still not super nice to wait for a train. No one likes waiting for trains or buses, right? But imagine it's raining, it's gloomy, it's cold, and you're waiting for the train. Before, I would put myself through that because I would be saying to myself, like, yeah, you have to perform, you have to show that you're good enough, you have to, somehow like show that you're a good employee. But nowadays, I feel like it's just too much. I've done this way too many times to know that it's not good for me. It's not like I work in a lab and I have to be there at this company. I nowadays say to myself that it's okay to sometimes prioritize my well-being and my health because like one might get sick when standing in the rain, when it's windy and it's cold and waiting for the train. And if I stay at home instead of going to the office, it doesn't make me a bad employee. The next example is about bad eating habits and pretty much anything that's congesting our system. In yoga, one of the key principles is non-violence. Basically what it means is that when we're eating something, when we're putting something in our body that is not good for us, that leads to us feeling bloated, heavy, congested, it's us being violent towards ourselves and hence not having a good, healthy relationship with self. Here it's important to clarify that when our body is rejecting it and we're still reaching out for food that makes us feel sluggish and unwell, we're not nourishing our body. We're ignoring the signals that it sends to us. Hence, we're not taking care of ourselves. We are being violent towards ourselves. The next one is feeling bad about investing in yourself. It really hits home so much for me. As a non-EU immigrant, I'm from Russia and I've lived in the Netherlands now for the third of my life. But this immigrant mindset is still with me. For example, I would want to invest in coaching, but I would hold back. And it would still see improvements in my life because I would read books and do some things that are for free or cheap, but there would be no exponential growth. That would not happen, and not spend money on things that are not essential. And if you think about it, pretty much nothing is essential except for food and some essential clothes, right? Like for the winter, we need a winter coat, like things like that. But basically anything else falls under the category of non-essential spending. And then slowly I started allowing myself to prioritize myself, think that I'm worthy of investment, think that I am good enough and I can and I should invest in myself because, I earn money and I can invest this money in myself. And the pinnacle of it was when I invested quite a big chunk of money in a course with the vague name Joy. I felt like I really wanted it and I felt like there is something that's going to be life-changing for me. And as I said, I thought I'm worthy of it. I allow myself to invest invest in me. So I did, and in fact this course was indeed really interesting and life-changing. And please here, let's not mix up mindless spending. It's like when you don't even read what's in it in the course, you're just like, okay, I'm buying it. I've done my research and this sort of mind block was removed, and I'm really grateful for it, and I'm really grateful that I've done this course. We have two more signs, two more examples before I head back home. Very interesting, and you definitely need to know about them to see if it's something that resonates with you and it's something that you can identify yourself in. The first one is about meta emotions. It's when we have feelings about our feelings. It's actually a recent example of what my client had. So they had been working on something for a while and that didn't come through, and they got really sad about it. The meta emotion here is them judging themselves for being sad. And this is the tricky part, because often the situation plus the emotion itself is manageable. And usually it's not even that crazy, right? When I'm telling you this, they've been working on something, it didn't come through, it's natural to be sad, right? But then when we start blaming ourselves, when we start judging ourselves for being sad and being, reacting in a certain way, this is where it gets tricky. We have a choice of being supportive or being judgmental, being critical towards ourselves or cheerleading ourselves. And it's interesting that most of us, unfortunately, gravitate towards being our worst critics. Imagine how much easier it would have been if, instead of judging ourselves, instead of picking ourselves apart, we would be loving and supportive towards ourselves. We would be our best friend. How much nicer this would have been, huh? The last one, but very important one. You know how they say it? Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. I had a client who came to me after she broke up with her partner, and she was devastated, and understandably so. In this situation, there is a lot of grieving, there is a lot of emotions involved, but still, even in this situation, suffering is optional. And there is a fine line here, because we need to let ourselves go through the pain, but we want to make sure that we're not getting stuck there and we're not getting in this endless loop of suffering. While indeed it's natural to feel the pain and it's not good to swallow it and to stuff it all in, we need to give ourselves the space to go through that. But it's very different from suffering, and probably in your experience you know that there are moments when it's already like you feel like you could stand up, you could go to the gym, you could just go for a walk, like for a 10-minute walk. You could do all of that, but there is something in you that still chooses to continue suffering. That's the fine line I'm talking about. And if you don't know what exactly I mean, next time something happens in your life that causes you pain, just try to observe when this moment happens for you, when you feel like, okay, like I could maybe this time try to actually go for it and try to do something good for yourself, because you can. I now move to a cozier space to have some tea with you and to chat about how to build a healthier relationship with self. It's a really good question, but there is no universal answer to that. If we knew the answer, if there was like a clear-cut answer, we would already have had a good relationship with self. It's so individual and it so varies person to person, the answer to the question of how to build and how to improve this relationship. In my coaching, I also approach it individually. So why don't we have a mini coaching session here? We already have a sort of a setup, right? So tea, a bit of a more personal connection. So get comfortable and let's begin. Let's pick the most recent situation where you could not be there for yourself, where you were not the greatest example of a friend, like you would not want to have the same level of friendship with yourself. So let's pick any example that comes to mind. It can be something simple, because life consists of simple moments that adds to the overall quality of our life. Now, close your eyes and try to remember what came up for you in this moment. It could be anger, frustration. So try to pinpoint any feeling that you felt at that moment. When you have it, let's move into thoughts. What thoughts did you have? Did you think more about another person, if it's the situation with another person? I'd have to do a lot of guessing right now because a YouTube format doesn't allow for a dialogue. So if this situation is with someone else, try to remember if you were more focused on another person, like, oh, you know, what they should have done or what they did, or were you more thinking about yourself, what you should have said or shouldn't have said? Like, try to think about what you thought in that moment. Now, when we have the context of your current situation, let's zoom out a little bit and try to understand where you learned this. Where was the first time when you can remember that something like this occurred in your life? Was it in your childhood? Was it in your first relationship? Was it something that you learned once you moved abroad? Understanding it here in your head is not gonna solve it, but it's the first step. And if you're someone like me who likes to understand things, and that's one of the first steps in the journey of solving it, then you're on the right track. Also, this approach promotes self-awareness. And the more you know about yourself, the easier it's going to be to make decisions, to guide your judgment, and to choose a reaction in the future. At some point, you will start noticing that you're going to act not from a space of reactivity, not like you don't even have a pause, you don't even have like a millisecond to think about your reaction. You just respond automatically because that's how you've been doing it for a long time. That's something that you learned at some point, and that's why we are looking at which point you learned it and how and why you learned it. So once you understand it, you're going to have a choice of how to respond. Are you going to respond how you have been responding for all your life, or are you going to choose a different response? To help you pick a different response and to think about it, I developed a free self-discovery tool. So you can text me on Instagram the word clarity, just send me a direct message. My Instagram handle is this one, and you can find the link in the video description below. Currently, I was just guiding you through my voice, and it's like a video guidance, but if you need an additional support where you can sit down and have all the questions laid out for you, you'll find this and more questions, more in-depth questions, more in-depth understanding. You'll find it all in this tool. I'm actually now going to hop on a coaching call, so I have to close the video. Thank you so much for your trust. Thank you for allowing me to guide you through this whole journey, through this whole process. And if you have any questions or any comments or anything you'd like to share, you can share it in the comments below. I read every single comment, or if you feel like you need a bit of a more private space, you can message me on my Instagram. I also reply to every single message. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you either in the comments below, in my next video, or on my Instagram handle. Bye for now.